Hi everybody, welcome in. I am doing a quilting video this week as a little bit of a break from the garment sewing and also because it's what I have the energy for today. It's kind of how things work around here. We work with what we've got. I'm going to be doing, it's a 6-inch square with 1.5-inch pre-cut strips that I already have picked out. You need 3 strips for the square. This can also be done with the 2.5-inch strips for a 12-inch square or whatever you want to do with it. We are not picky here. But you start by just sewing all the strips together. I'm putting this in the middle because the other 2 strips that I have both have this floral design on them. So I think this in the middle would be just really pretty. And I'm going to go ahead and interject here because I misspoke. I said a 1/2-inch seam allowance, and I'm editing that out because it's actually the full 1/4-inch seam allowance. I'm using a full 1/4-inch seam allowance instead of the scant because these are being made for sale in my Etsy shop. Inch seam allowance because these are going to be at the tops for mug rugs that are going up in my Etsy shop. So I do want it to be just a little bit sturdier than the scant 1/4 that I would use for things for myself. But it's simply going down the edge. It's not 1,000,000% accurate because not even close to 1,000,000% accurate. It's not even 100% accurate because I'm not bothering to pin. I have the confidence to run it through the machine without pinning. Not highly recommended. Please use your pins. Pins are your friends. Don't be like me. I'm a bad influence. You spend good money on pins. Therefore, you should use them. Again, do not be like me. Use your tools. Use your tools. All right. An important tip that most people will not tell you is when you're putting long strips together like this, when you get to the end, instead of starting at this end where you started before, if you're adding another strip on, start at the end where you just left off. So instead of going one direction and then going back and then going out some direction, you're going down and then back and then down and then back. Because the way the feed dogs in the sewing machines work, they can actually pull on the fabric and cause the whole thing to kind of bow and cause problems later on when you're trying to cut straight lines and put things together. I'm just lining up the fabric here. And I'm going to do the same thing and just attach the other length of the pre-cut. Ready, set, neum. Then again, because these are going up on Etsy, I actually have my iron set up today. Which means I will be pausing as soon as I'm done attaching this strip, and I will be going over to the ironing board and pressing the seams so that they actually look like they're supposed to. It's amazing. Amazing. Oop, I wobbled. I'm gonna have to go back there. I am not afraid to go over seams or parts of seams when I do wobble like that. Honestly, I'm wobbling because I'm using my phone as a camera and it is directly in front of where I need to look to see what I'm doing. Alright, there we go. And then that was right about there. I can see it. Right there. And right there. A few places. Alright. So I'm going to start about here. There we go. Now because I am going to be pressing the seams flat instead of open, this will actually work out really well. I'm going to go over to the ironing board and we'll be right back. Alright, while we were paused, I went ahead and did a little bit of rearranging, as you can see. Pulled out another couple of tools that I'm going to use. Normally, I try to do videos with just a regular pair of scissors. I am going to go ahead and be using a rotary cutter a quilting ruler, and a cutting mat, just because it's easier with what I'm doing here. These also can be done with just like a pen or something and a pair of scissors. Just need to mark the lines so you know where to cut and cut along the lines themselves, and it'll all come together fairly easily. I did go ahead and press my seams. I just press them open, one to either side. You can press them both the same direction. It doesn't much matter. I just find this easier because I slap the iron down in the middle and use my fingers to pull apart so that it stays taut and everything is even. And we're going to go ahead and start cutting what we need for the pieces for this. The first thing that's going to have to happen is we need a nice straight edge without any selvage. So I'm just going to line up the edge of the fabric with one of the marks there, and if I can. I'm having problems doing things today. I apologize. Coordination is not my strong suit. And just right up there. And that's just, if you keep them for scraps, keep these for scraps for scrapbooks or junk journals or whatever, it's really cool. I encourage it. I'm not going to keep that one. All right, and then these lines are 45-degree angles. So I'm going to go ahead and cut along that 45-degree angle line here. This piece can be kept for another project or scraps or whatever. I am going to keep that one. All right, this is where you start actually getting your shapes for the block itself. Because this particular cutting mat does have the 45-degree angles going both ways, it's really useful for this particular square because you're going to need 4 triangles cut on 45-degree angles, and they're going to be alternating. So the first one's going to be cut here. If I can line things up, because again, coordination is not my strong suit today. Oof, I'm having some issues with my, I had to be off of medications for a week, and I just got back on them, and the adjustment period can be a little rough. That's okay. So there's the first one. Well, mostly. Oh, pity's sake. And again, you can just mark these with chalk or a pen or whatever and use scissors to cut along that line. The second one is going to be here. And again on that 45-degree line. You line up correctly, fabric, please and thank. Awesome. Good job. Well, if I could cut along the ruler, that would help too. So I'm not going to use that one because I... Oh, did it miscut? Yeah, it totally miscut. Miscut it, so that one's going to be set aside. Shame. That's okay. Shame on me. I'll use that as an offcut or for one for myself because the stuff I make for myself is never perfect. It's never even close to perfect. I like it that way. It proves to myself I am very human and very fallible. Alright, because I missed cut here, and I'm just going to keep cutting all the way down, but I'm going to make sure that as I continue on for the project, I'm going to have 2 triangles that look like this and 2 that look like this. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut 2 more so that I have what I need. What's going up on the Etsy shop is not going to be all the same triangles put together. I've been pulling strips of fabric using sets, pre-cut sets, and then making these triangles, throwing them all in a big pile and pulling them randomly. And as long as they look pretty okay, I will use them as part of a set. I do have some Halloween ones that are complete and that are the mix and match like that, and they actually turned out really, really cute. But it's also easier to get a set of 4 when you've got a little bit of a mix and match going on. All right. So I've got 2 with the brown on bottom and 2 with the beige on bottom. I'm going to go ahead and pause and set up the sewing machine again, and we'll be right back. All right, we are back. And again, I have 2 triangles with the beige on the bottom and 2 with the brown on the bottom. And what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to take one of each. I'm going to put them together like this. So line up these edges, and this is where I use pins, and I will use them for this because matching where these seams are going across is the big secret to making this block work. Now I did spoil myself and I bought myself some glass-headed pins so that when I do the pressing, I don't have to take them out of the fabric if I don't want to, but that's also because I use them for garment making as well as quilting. Alright, so I'm just going to pin together like that. Alright, and we just stitch. Because I am very paranoid about. Oh no. Bobbin, don't be this way. Because I am paranoid about stitching over the tops of my pins, I pull them out. I've had one break and shoot out of the machine at me before, so I don't do that. I know a lot of people do, and that's up to you, personal preference. That is not something I can make myself do. All right, gonna clip these threads. And I'm going to head over to, all right, back from the ironing board. I've just pressed the seams flat. Just flop it open and press. And I'm going to, starting at the center seam, is where I'm going to put the first pin in, and just line them up and pin where each seam meets the other across all the way across. And making sure to line everything up really well. So we end up with 5 pins, 1 in each seam, just to make sure everything meets up really well. And zip it through. Go over that again just because I know part of that is crooked and that's not acceptable for something that's going up for sale. I felt myself wobble. That's much better. All right. And snip. And the last step is actually to just press it flat. So I'll be right back to show you the finished product. All right. Another just open it up and press it flat. And this is what the finished square looks like. Again, this is a 6x6 because I used the 1.5-inch pre-cuts. But because of using the pins to line up everything, it's a tiny bit off right there, but there's corners matching up. Everything is nice and square. It looks really pretty. I think, and maybe it's just me, that the fabric in the middle there, the middle section, or center fabric, middle fabric? Whatever. I think that looks really nice going in like that. But that's just personal preference. Now, if you wanted to do so that it had like this half was the brown and this half was the beige on the outside, you could do that too. Or if you cut more, if you had the length of the fabric in the pre-cuts where you could cut 4 of each of these, so like 4 with the brown on the outside, 4 with the beige on the outside, you could have with full brown and beige in the center and vice versa. It's completely up to you what you want to do. This is just an idea for a fairly simple block that comes together pretty quickly. And even doing the recording and going back and forth and having to stop to wait for the camera to wiggle because I will eventually get a new camera stand, but today is not that day. It has taken me less than a half an hour to put this together. These are quick. These are really quick, especially if you do the strip quilting where you just go and you put, the first two triangles together and you do like 50 of them in a row. And then you put the second, the sections with the larger triangles together and you do like 50 in a row. It can be super quick, super easy. I've used this to put together a lap quilt in the top for a lap quilt together in less than an afternoon. It's very doable, very easy. But thank you so much for coming in. I do appreciate each and every one of you. If you like what you're seeing here, please like, please subscribe. I am trying to hit that 500 subscriber mark, and I've got a long way to go. We're getting there. We're getting there. But I'm trying. It takes a minute. So if you would like and subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that jazz that you hear with every single video, because honestly, I hate having to push, but to be able to grow a YouTube channel, you have to. Um, there are links to Etsy, Ko-fi, and Patreon down below as well. If you want to help support me at all, that would be amazing. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye bye.